Hello, I'm Miriam. I'm a family therapist. Welcome to my first 2021 video. Because of the coronavirus, so many of us are at home and many parents need to homeschool their children effectively. They need to supervise the work that school is sending and to create the conditions for children to learn. And because we are not teachers and we are stressed ourselves, then this can be really difficult with lots of tension. So I'm going to suggest some ideas here. These ideas will be helpful for you even when this lockdown is over, whenever you want to think about supervising your children's homework or helping them with their revision. First, I'm going to point out 3 common traps that we fall into that are not helpful at all regarding our children's learning, what they are and what to do instead. And then I'm going to suggest a 3-step process to help any child, anytime with their schoolwork. So let's talk about these traps. And we fall into the first one when school sets a piece of work for our children. It could be online, it could be on paper. And we make our children revise it, review it, improve it, correct all their mistakes so that they can submit something that's really, really good. And in my view, this is a huge trap. Your child does not need to submit the best work every time for 2 reasons. The first reason is that it gives the teachers a false picture of what your child can actually do. And a teacher cannot really teach if they don't have a true picture of what your child knows and what your child does not know. The second reason has to do with understanding the purpose of this piece of work or assignment. And the purpose is for your child to learn. The purpose is not to create a good piece of work. And the two are not always the same. Often they're not the same. Take, for example, math. Say your child got some fraction multiplication that he has to do. He can do this following a technique and produce perfect results, not understanding what fraction multiplication means, why the techniques work, and why would anyone want to multiply 2 fractions anyway. So the work can be done, understanding could be very minimal. Same with English or with science or history. They can look things online without understanding them and just copying them. They can lean too heavily on your support and produce something that looks okay, but they haven't learned very much. And all this process of revising it and correcting too much and improving too much can be very stressful for everyone. So what are the skills that we want our children to learn? There are 2 groups of skills. One is general learning skills. It's about concentration, keeping on task, not giving up, being motivated even if it's difficult, being creative and imaginative, spotting their own mistakes and learning from them, the child being able to take in corrections, especially from us, without getting upset or defensive, or without giving up and losing hope. So learning and practicing these skills will help your child continue to love and enjoy schoolwork. The second group is the academic skills like math. So going back to our example, what exactly are fractions? What does it mean to multiply them or to add them up? Why would we want to do it? How do we do it? Why does it work and why does it all make sense? Thinking of English, it's about reading comprehension, expressing their ideas clearly, spelling, grammar, punctuation, the lot. So when your child's performing a task that's been set by the school, you need to be less concerned about the task itself and more concerned about what your child is actually learning from it. So you want to take a long-term view, and obviously if you do it right, over time the quality of the work would improve greatly. But this is not about each piece of work being perfect. The second trap we wish to avoid is underestimating the effort most children need to put into their work and overestimating their ability. For a child, for example, to write a coherent paragraph or even a sentence, they first of all need to know exactly what they want to say. They need to phrase it rightly in their mind, and then they need to worry about their presentation, about their spelling, about their handwriting, about punctuation, things that we usually don't need to worry about because they became subconscious to us. So a lot of this work that we think they should know takes them much more effort, and we've got too high unrealistic expectations, and we get upset when they don't meet these expectations, when things take them much more time than we think they should, or that they don't produce the quality that we want. So trap number 2, unrealistic expectations. A third huge trap for us as parents is to get emotionally involved too much. So getting stressed out and anxious about our children's performance ourselves. Now, if we get rid of the 2 first traps, meaning that we don't expect every piece of work to be perfect and we've got realistic expectations generally, then some of this stress may go. But we're still sometimes over-involved and over-anxious because we worry about their future, we worry that they will fall behind and they're not going to be successful enough and they're not going to get a good job and not going to have a good life in the future. But a lot of that is based on quite an old-fashioned view of what's required and what's needed of children. Nowadays, what they need the most is flexibility and the ability and will and motivation to keep learning, keep changing. So even if they're not successful at a particular point in their lives, they can always catch up, they can always complete it, they're going to be fine. So we want to distance ourselves a bit and see ourselves as tutors, the same way that we'd like a tutor to be patient and not get upset and not shout at our children. Then we need to hold ourselves to the same standard and detach a little bit emotionally. Trust we're going to be okay. Okay, so now we're in a better mindset for helping your child with the schoolwork, but the question is still there. What do we actually do when we've got a piece of work in front of us and we need to support our children in this? I'm going to give you 3 steps for this, practical steps. But before that, if you like the content, please like, please subscribe, and press the bell for notifications. So you know your child. If your child can look at a piece of work, read the instructions and follow them and just get started, you can skip the first stage and the second one too. And just stay with the third one, which is about reviewing, which is the most important one. But say your child comes to you and says that they don't know what to do, they don't know how to do it, or your child typically is happy to start working, but you know that they don't read the instructions very carefully and they may get it all wrong or partially wrong. So you need the first step. And the first step is not for you to read the instructions and then explain it to them. It's for you to encourage your child to read the instructions and tell you what their understanding is. So you want your child to explain to you at least something. Show me what you know, show me what you understand, what you think you need to do. Ask them a few questions and then get them to figure it out themselves. Of course you can support, but don't just jump in to explain it to them. So before your children start working, they need to be able to explain to you what it is that they're going to do. If they can't explain it to you, they're probably not going to know what they're going to do anyway. So that's the first stage, making sure that your children know what they're doing, and if there's anything in particular that they need to pay attention to, that was mentioned. The second step is the easiest. Now that they know what they're doing, you just let them just get on with it. Leave them to do their work. You don't need to sit there, you don't need to have a look, you don't need to interfere. Go and do your own thing. If they've got a problem, they can come and ask you, but again, you don't immediately jump to provide an answer, but try to ask them leading questions and get them to think about what it is that they need to do. So just let them get on with it, and that's that. The third and the most important part of supporting your child's learning is reviewing the work that they've done independently. So you look at the work together with your child and you start by pointing out at least 3 things you like about it. And of course, you want to do it at the level your child's at. So it could be a word that they've spelled correctly, a single word that they spelled correctly. It could be that you're saying, oh, I really like that your H has got a really long line so I can't mistake it for an N, for example. Or it could be an idea that your child put, or it could be that they've shown their workings in math, or whatever it is. You want to at least mention 3 specific things you like. And then you want to mention just the one thing that you're inviting them to correct. It needs to be something that they can actually fix. If they can't fix it, please don't mention it. Just remember it. And since we are taking a long-term view here, you can mention it in preparation for the next piece of work. But there's no point, for example, to say to a child, oh, you forgot to start a new paragraph when that was in the middle of the page. You're not expecting your child to rewrite the whole page so that he will have a new paragraph at that point. It's better to just not mention it. And then you get your child to do the same thing. And you can change the order. You can get your child to start at least 3 things they're proud of or they like about their work, and just the 1 thing that they're willing to change. Now, because you're concentrating on only 2 corrections here, the chances are that your child's going to actually remember them. Whereas if you point out too many problems, the chances are that your child's going to become defensive, give up, and not retain any of them. So this is my invitation for you. Go ahead and try it. I also like to thank Noel Janis-Norton. Some of this information I've learned from her and have tried and tested it and used it with families that I worked with over the years. So thank you very much for listening. Good luck with it. Take care and see you on the next video.